NASCAR got involved in yet another controversial decision shortly after releasing its penalty report for the races held at Phoenix Raceway this weekend, as people were reminded of a decision made during last Sunday's Cup Series race, when Joey Logano was penalized for something pretty controversial. And the decision to penalize Logano during the race has sparked criticism from experts and past drivers. So the question arose, has NASCAR lost control? Are the officials competent enough to maintain the race interesting and fair? And maybe even more important, will NASCAR host a race weekend without controversy this year? So, last weekend, Joey Logano was penalized for a restart violation in Phoenix. Joey Logano began on the first row and took the lead from William Byron early in the first stage of Sunday's Shriners Children's 300 at Phoenix Raceway. Then, on lap 18, NASCAR penalized him for the previous restart. Logano was punished for a restart infraction for dipping below the yellow line before fully crossing the start-finish line. The reigning Cup Series champion was forced to give up the lead and serve a pass-through penalty. Logano soon stated that he believed NASCAR made a wrong decision. "No way!" Logano exclaimed into his radio. He added, "It was freaking nothing. That is ridiculous." The rulebook includes a section that governs restarts and the inside line. Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports revealed the rule on X. At oval track events, once the green flag has been displayed at the initial start and all restarts, all vehicles must maintain their respective track position lane established by the front row above the apron, as determined by the inside painted line until they have crossed the start-finish line, according to the rule. Logano won at Phoenix when it counted the most, last year's Cup Series championship race. He had one of the fastest vehicles entering Sunday's race. However, because to the punishment, he had to navigate the field last Sunday. And while it may appear trivial, if NASCAR continues to rule in this manner, things will not go well. That is precisely why past stars have criticized NASCAR. Kevin Harvick, for one, has criticized NASCAR for penalizing Team Penske driver Joey Logano in Phoenix. The defending Cup Series champion was penalized for a restart violation at the Shriners Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway. NASCAR imposed a pass-through penalty, which pushed Logano to the rear of the field. Although the Connecticut-born driver managed to finish the race in 13th position, he was furious over his team radio, stating, "No way, it was freaking nothing. That is ridiculous." During the most recent episode of the Harvick Happy Hour podcast, Harvick lashed out at NASCAR's inconsistent penalties. He fumed. "Well, this is one of those, it's a black and white call with the way that this rule is written. But if we're going to call the black and white call here, there was definitely a couple situations on the restarts that I would consider questionable." The video right here of Logano. I mean, you can see the car is over the yellow line before the start-finish line. That's the rule. I've got no problem with black and white calls, as long as we call the black and white calls all the time. Let's be consistent. Figure out a way out of this one and not that one. Because there's not that iron fist that is just ruling these Cup Series races and calling those calls like they need to be called. But there are a lot of things that are black and white, and rules on the restart, rules on the yellow line. If we're going to call all the black and white calls like that one, then we need to call them all. He continued, "It's super easy. That call is super easy. Did we see anybody else get close to the start-finish line below the line for the rest of the day? No. Nobody close. Nobody was even close the rest of the day. It's just like the restarts. There were a couple of those restarts at the end I was like, man, it looked to me like the outside guy jumped the inside guy or entered the zone and took off before the control car did. Those inconsistencies, like when they didn't make that call with Denny Hamlin at Richmond, that's the kind of crap I'm tired of. I'm tired of the inconsistencies that go with the officiating. It has been absolute C*****P. Harvick went on to provide further examples of NASCAR unreliability. There have been several. I think when you look at the throwing the caution in the duel, not throwing the caution at the Daytona 500, not throwing the caution at the Atlanta Xfinity race, then we throw the caution for the Cup race, Harvick said. The reason that you're getting trashed is because of the fact that you're not consistent. You're not doing it the same. Don't give me this garbage that every scenario isn't the same and we've got to talk through this. No, that's not right. Atlanta was very simple. The Xfinity race. The Daytona 500 was very simple to throw the caution flag. You look at Joey Logano's, that was a simple call. Just make it. But Harvick wasn't the only one who had issue with what transpired last weekend. The legendary Dale Earnhardt Jr. also did. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wasn't pleased with the call. The NASCAR Hall of Famer didn't think Logano should have had to give up the lead and serve a pass-through penalty. During the most recent episode of the Dale Jr. Download, Earnhardt Jr. commented on what he perceived to be nitpicking on the part of authorities. This was an interesting one for me. Sometimes NASCAR doesn't call it, sometimes they do call it. I do not remember the last time that they've called it on the front, the leader, particularly at Phoenix. So that was pretty interesting, Earnhardt Jr. proclaimed. I thought it was pretty nitpicky. Did Joey break that rule? Yeah. I didn't think that Joey was trying to gain an advantage there. I don't think he was doing anything to block the car behind him. I just think that he misjudged it. I felt like, considering the circumstances, that it was a bit nitpicky based off of how hit and miss it's been on calling those infractions at that particular racetrack, and those moments throughout the field over the last let's just go back 5 or 6 trips to this racetrack. It's been, they can't get them all. I understand that. I'm not complaining. I don't expect them to call all of them because they're going to miss a few. It's just human nature to error a little bit. So, you give them a little bit of grace there. But I felt like that they pounced on Joey. I mean, literally just half a tire or maybe a 3/4 of the left front tire down on the apron when he crossed the start-finish line. I didn't think it was that aggressive. It was obviously stunning to see the call made, as the NASCAR on Fox booth was also stunned in real time. Earnhardt Jr. went on to say that a warning would have been preferable for the number 22 crew, since their day was thrown off course for no apparent reason. I feel like that would have been a time to maybe give a warning to everyone, Earnhardt Jr. said. That would have been a moment to say, look man, we're not going to torpedo Joey's day over about 12 inches of asphalt. He didn't gain anything from it. He wasn't blocking the car behind him. Listen, forget about who's in the car. Just, Joey Logano fan or not. This is a guy just trying to run his race. He got a little aggressive. It would have been a good time to say, all right everybody, we're going to, we're sending out a warning. The number 22 car was aggressive there. Next time, the next car that does it, I don't care if it's a couple of inches, stop. Stop doing it. I think that would have been the play, but that's just me. You don't have to love it. I just feel like it was a little bit nitpicky. Overall, the penalty knocked Joey Logano out of the battle for the win, but he finished 13th when the checkered flag waved. At least it wasn't a complete disaster. However, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kevin Harvick would like to see it handled differently in the future, regardless of which driver commits the penalty. What are your thoughts about the penalty? Has NASCAR made the wrong decision here? Let me know your opinions in the comments section below.